Hollywood practically begged her to be a superstar. One minute, she was dominating TV. The next, she was barely in the spotlight. No scandals, no dramatic exits, just gone. So where the hell did Robin Wright go? From modeling to soap stardom. She didn't start out chasing Hollywood fame. Born in Dallas, Texas in 1966, Robin Wright spent most of her childhood in sunny San Diego. She wasn't a stage kid or a theater prodigy. Acting wasn't even on her radar at first. Instead, she got her start in front of the camera as a model. It wasn't glamorous runway work in Paris or Milan. It was catalog shoots, department store campaigns, and small gigs that paid decently for a teenager. She had the classic California look, blonde, striking, and effortlessly photogenic. By 14, she was booking steady modeling work, and by the time she hit 18, the transition into acting started to take shape. Her big break came in 1984 when she landed a role on Santa Barbara, a brand new daytime soap opera. At the time, soaps were massive. Millions of viewers tuned in daily, and the actors became household names. Wright played Kelly Capwell, the rebellious daughter of a wealthy family. The show quickly gained traction, winning 24 Daytime Emmy Awards over its run. Wright became a fan favorite, earning 3 Emmy nominations herself. For most young actresses, a steady job on a hit soap would be a dream come true. It offered security, exposure, and a loyal fan base. But Wright wasn't interested in staying in daytime television forever. Back then, the industry didn't take soap actors seriously. Making the jump to film was nearly impossible. Few had done it successfully, and the ones who did, like Meg Ryan, were exceptions, not the rule. But Wright was willing to take the risk. After 4 years in Santa Barbara, she made a bold move and left in 1988. It was a gamble that could have ended her career before it even really started. Hollywood wasn't exactly waiting with open arms for a soap opera actress. But then came a role that changed everything. A fairy tale movie that wasn't supposed to be a big deal. A project that turned into one of the most beloved films of all time. Robin Wright had just walked away from Santa Barbara and straight into The Princess Bride. The Princess Bride. She wasn't the obvious choice for Buttercup. At the time, Hollywood was filled with up-and-coming actresses competing for leading roles, and The Princess Bride wasn't seen as a surefire hit. It wasn't a big-budget studio film, nor was it an Oscar-bait drama. It was a strange hybrid of fantasy, adventure, satire, and romance. Something that didn't neatly fit into Hollywood's usual formulas. Director Rob Reiner had auditioned a long list of actresses, including Courtney Cox, before landing on Wright. He later said she had a natural, royal presence that made her perfect for the role. She had an effortless grace, a combination of innocence and strength that made Buttercup feel like more than just a damsel in distress. Even then, casting a relative unknown in the lead role was a gamble. When The Princess Bride was released in 1987, it didn't explode at the box office. It made around $30 million. Not exactly a failure, but not a runaway success either. Critics liked it, but audiences weren't sure what to make of it. Was it a romance? A comedy? A fairy tale? Studios didn't know how to market it, and that hurt its initial reception. But then, something unexpected happened. The home video market turned The Princess Bride into a cult phenomenon. VHS sales took off, and over the next decade it became one of the most beloved films of its era. People who missed it in theaters discovered it at home, quoting its endlessly rewatchable dialogue and passing it down to new generations. Despite the film's growing popularity, Wright faced an unexpected challenge. Hollywood now saw her as the fairy tale princess. She was flooded with offers for romantic comedies, light-hearted dramas, and fantasy films, roles that would have solidified her as America's sweetheart. But that wasn't what she wanted. The turbulent 90s. After The Princess Bride, Robin Wright was at a crossroads. She had the kind of breakout role that could have launched her into mainstream stardom, but she wasn't interested in playing the Hollywood game. Instead of cashing in on her newfound fame with easy romantic leads, she gravitated toward complex, dramatic roles. That choice led her to Forrest Gump, 1994, a film that would go on to define an era. Playing Jenny Curran was a gamble. The character was messy, self-destructive, and deeply flawed, a stark contrast to the noble, all-American charm of Tom Hanks's Forrest. Forrest Gump pulled in $678.2 million at the box office and won 6 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. It became one of the most beloved films of all time, but Wright's role was divisive. Some critics praised her as the emotional core of the movie, portraying a woman shaped by trauma and hardship. Others felt Jenny was underdeveloped, existing only to propel Forrest's story forward. Either way, the role cemented Wright as a serious actress capable of holding her own in an Oscar-winning film. But while Forrest Gump was putting her in front of millions, her personal life was making just as many headlines. She had started dating Sean Penn in 1989, and their relationship was anything but stable. They broke up, reconciled, and finally married in 1996. The two had undeniable chemistry, but also a reputation for intense fights and sudden breakups. Their marriage, which produced 2 children, played out under media scrutiny with constant rumors of tension and separations. The relationship didn't just dominate her personal life, it shaped her career. While married to Penn, she turned down some of the biggest roles of the decade. She rejected Batman Forever, 1995, Jurassic Park, 1993, and Shakespeare in Love, 1998, movies that went on to become massive cultural moments. Any of these films could have cemented her as an A-list star. Instead, she chose more intimate, character-driven films like Moll Flanders, 1996, and She's So Lovely, 1997, where she co-starred with Penn. By the late 90s, her reputation was clear. She was a respected actress, but not a bankable one. What no one knew was that her most challenging decade, both professionally and personally, was yet to come. A resurgence cut short. By the early 2000s, Robin Wright was in a strange position. She had the respect of critics and filmmakers, but Hollywood still didn't see her as a bankable star. She wasn't headlining blockbusters, nor was she a box office draw. For years, she had chosen roles based on depth rather than marketability, a move that kept her in the industry's good graces but out of its top tier. Studios weren't fighting over her, but directors who valued craft over commercial appeal recognized her talent. That's when she pivoted toward independent films. Her first major move was Unbreakable, 2000, a psychological thriller directed by M. Night Shyamalan. The film, starring Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson, became a sleeper hit, earning $248 million worldwide. Wright played Willis's estranged wife, a subdued yet emotionally layered role. She wasn't the star, but her presence gave the film much-needed grounding. In a movie about superheroes and fate, she represented something real: grief, regret, and the quiet tension of a failing marriage. She followed that with White Oleander, 2002, a dark drama featuring an all-star cast, including Michelle Pfeiffer and Renee Zellweger. Wright played Star, a former stripper struggling with addiction and instability. It was one of those performances that critics loved, raw, haunting, and deeply human. But once again, the film didn't change her trajectory. It was a critical success, not a commercial one, and in Hollywood, box office numbers mattered more than reviews. Then came 9 Lives, 2005, a film that was more of an experiment than a traditional narrative. Directed by Rodrigo Garcia, it featured 9 loosely connected stories, each filmed in a single unbroken take. Wright's segment, where she plays a woman unexpectedly running into an old flame at a grocery store, was widely praised. The dialogue, the silence, the unspoken tension, it was a masterclass in subtle, emotionally charged acting. But indie films like this weren't designed to turn actors into stars. They existed in their own quiet corner of the industry. The issue? None of these roles made Wright a household name. They earned her respect, but she wasn't in the same league as actresses like Julia Roberts or Nicole Kidman, who balanced prestige films with box office hits. Wright had proven she could carry a scene, but Hollywood wasn't offering her leading roles in major productions. At the same time, her personal life was unraveling. By 2007, her marriage to Sean Penn had reached its breaking point. They separated, reconciled, and separated again. In 2009, they filed for divorce for the third and final time. It was a public and messy split, but for Wright, it also marked a new chapter. The divorce that changed everything. Her divorce from Sean Penn in 2010 wasn't just about ending a marriage, it was about reclaiming her independence. For years, she had put her career on the back burner, prioritizing family and supporting Penn's turbulent career. She had turned down major roles in blockbusters, stayed out of the spotlight, and let Hollywood pass her by. Now, for the first time in decades, she was making decisions for herself. But coming back wasn't going to be easy. The industry had changed while she was away. The 90s had been dominated by big-name movie stars, but by 2010, television was where actors went to find prestige. Actresses like Cate Blanchett, Marion Cotillard, and Amy Adams have taken over the film world. If Wright wanted to make a real comeback, she couldn't just pick up where she left off. She needed a role that would redefine her. Her first step back was The Conspirator, 2010, a historical drama directed by Robert Redford. She played Mary Surratt, the only woman charged in the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, in a performance that was layered and emotionally gripping. But the film had a quiet release and struggled to reach a wide audience. While critics praised her work, it wasn't the comeback moment she needed. Next, she took on The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, 2011, a high-profile David Fincher thriller starring Daniel Craig and Rooney Mara. She played Erica Berger, the editor of Millennium magazine, a smart and commanding role that put her in the mix with Hollywood's A-list again. It was a step up, but it was still a supporting part. She wasn't leading the charge. Wright was gaining momentum, but she hadn't yet found that one defining role. Hollywood still saw her as a respected actress rather than a leading force. Then Netflix came knocking. In 2013, she signed on for House of Cards, a bold political drama that wasn't just a comeback, it was a career transformation. Streaming was still a gamble at the time, but this wasn't just any show. It was Netflix's first real attempt at prestige television, and it would change everything. For Wright, it was the role of a lifetime. A career-defining performance. When House of Cards premiered in 2013, no one was sure if Netflix's gamble on original programming would pay off. Streaming was still seen as a side platform, not a serious competitor to traditional TV networks or cable giants like HBO. But with its sharp writing, sleek cinematography, and powerhouse performances, House of Cards shattered expectations. Kevin Spacey led the series as Frank Underwood, a ruthless politician willing to manipulate, betray, and even kill his way to power. But Robin Wright wasn't just playing his wife. Claire Underwood was just as cutthroat. She wasn't a supporting character, she was his equal, his strategist, and in many ways, the more dangerous of the two. Wright's performance was a masterclass in quiet intensity. Claire didn't need to shout or make grand speeches to control a room. She could do it with a glance. She exuded power, and audiences ate it up. Critics quickly labeled her one of the best characters on television. For the first time in her career, Wright wasn't just in a hit project, she was the reason people were watching. Her performance evolved with each season, making Claire more ruthless, more complex, and more compelling. By the second season, she wasn't just acting, she was directing. She stepped behind the camera for multiple episodes, becoming a key creative force in shaping Claire's arc. Then came the awards. In 2014, she made history by becoming the first actor to win a major award for a streaming series, taking home the Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Drama. The win cemented her as a TV powerhouse, proving she wasn't just an indie film darling, she was leading one of the most talked-about shows in the world. But behind the scenes, trouble was brewing. Spacey was making significantly more money than Wright, despite their equal screen time and contributions to the show. In 2016, she publicly called for equal pay, stating in interviews that she was just as valuable to the series as Spacey. She even threatened to go public with the pay disparity if Netflix didn't adjust her salary. The studio caved, making her one of the highest-paid actresses on television. Then, just as House of Cards hit its peak, everything collapsed. The fallout. In late 2017, Kevin Spacey's career collapsed almost overnight. A wave of allegations surfaced, with multiple men accusing him of sexual misconduct, some dating back decades. The backlash was immediate. Netflix, which had built its prestige TV empire on House of Cards, acted swiftly. Within days, they announced that Spacey had been fired. The network also canceled Gore, a Netflix original film Spacey had been producing, and scrubbed nearly all associations with him. This left House of Cards in crisis. The show had always revolved around Frank Underwood, with Claire Underwood as his calculating counterpart. Suddenly, the lead was gone, and the writers had to decide whether to scrap the entire series or salvage it. They chose the latter. The final season, originally planned with Spacey at the center, was rewritten to focus entirely on Claire. Wright's character was sworn in as President of the United States, taking full control. In theory, it was a moment that fans had wanted for years, Claire stepping out of Frank's shadow, but without the Underwood power dynamic, something felt off. The final season, released in 2018, received mixed reactions. Wright delivered a strong performance, but the writing struggled to fill the void left by Spacey. Frank Underwood's fate was reduced to an off-screen death, and the show's signature tension had disappeared. Longtime fans were divided. Some appreciated Claire's dominance, while others felt the series had lost its edge. By the time House of Cards ended, Wright had accomplished plenty. She had broken barriers as a lead actress, secured equal pay, and even directed multiple episodes. But now, for the first time in years, she had no ongoing projects. She had to figure out what came next. Would Hollywood still see her as a major player, or would she fade into the background? The next few years would reveal her answer. From actress to director. By 2020, Robin Wright had spent nearly 4 decades in Hollywood. She had built a career playing complex, emotionally charged women, but she was no longer content with just performing. She wanted to take control behind the camera. While she had directed a few episodes of House of Cards, she hadn't yet helmed a full-length feature. That changed when she took on Land, 2021, her directorial debut. Land was a deeply personal project for Wright. The film follows a woman who, after suffering an immense personal tragedy, chooses to live alone in the wilderness to escape the world. Wright didn't just direct it, she starred in it, carrying the film almost entirely on her own. It was a quiet, introspective story, the kind Hollywood rarely funds anymore. It wasn't designed for mass appeal or box office dominance. It was a film made on her terms. Critics responded positively, praising her direction and performance. But Land didn't make a huge splash commercially. It earned $3.2 million worldwide, a modest return for an independent drama. Still, it accomplished what Wright had set out to do, prove that she could direct. She wasn't just an actress who dabbled in filmmaking, she had a clear creative vision. At the same time, she continued acting, but in a much more selective way. In 2017, she appeared in Wonder Woman as General Antiope, an Amazonian warrior who trains Diana. The role was brief but powerful, and audiences loved her. Fans hoped Warner Brothers would expand her character, but they didn't. She only returned for a flashback in Wonder Woman 1984, 2020, leaving many wondering why the studio didn't capitalize on her popularity. Wright wasn't trying to become a blockbuster star, though. Unlike some of her contemporaries, she wasn't chasing big contracts or looking for a franchise to anchor her career. She was more interested in telling meaningful stories, whether on-screen or behind the camera. Where did she go? By the early 2000s and 20s, Robin Wright had stepped away from the Hollywood machine. No talk show circuits, no blockbuster leads, no social media presence. This led to a common question: did she retire? The answer? Not at all. She was still working, but selectively. Unlike many actors who jump from project to project to stay relevant, she had reached a point where she only took on roles that genuinely interested her. After House of Cards, she shifted her focus toward directing, something she had been quietly building toward for years. Directing remains a major focus. While she hasn't announced her next project, she's hinted at developing new scripts and looking for the right opportunity. With Hollywood making a stronger push for female directors, she has more doors open than ever. So why do people keep asking, where did Robin Wright go? Simple. She's not playing the Hollywood game. No Marvel contracts, no streaming series deals, no awards show appearances. She's working on her own terms, and after decades of proving herself, she doesn't need validation from the industry. She may never return to mainstream stardom, but she doesn't have to. She's already won.
Imagine a Hollywood where the stars you know and love didn't just grace the silver screen, but also battled demons so dark they could rival any movie villain. What if I told you that some of the most iconic faces in film history had lives that were more tragic than the roles they played? Buckle up, because we're diving deep into the untold stories of Golden Age Hollywood actors and actresses who drank themselves to death, cut short by their own vices. You won't believe how their dazzling careers turned into real-life horror stories. Jean Seabourg, The American in Paris, Lost but never forgotten. A symbol of the French New Wave cinema, she was an American actress who found fame across the Atlantic. Born on November 13, 1938, in Marshalltown, Iowa, she was catapulted to international stardom with her role in Jean-Luc Godard's Breathless, 1960. Her pixie haircut and gamine beauty became iconic, influencing fashion and film for years to come. However, her life was far from the glamour it seemed. She became involved in political activism, supporting civil rights and anti-war movements, which drew the attention of the FBI. The agency's surveillance and harassment took a severe emotional toll on her, leading her to seek solace in alcohol. Her drinking became a way to cope with the constant stress and anxiety, affecting her career and personal relationships. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, she faced a series of personal tragedies, including a stillbirth, which was widely publicized due to the FBI's smear campaign against her. Her mental health deteriorated, and her reliance on alcohol became more pronounced. On September 8, 1979, she was found dead in her car in Paris. But many believe that her years of alcohol abuse and the emotional trauma inflicted by the FBI's harassment played a significant role in her tragic end at the age of 40. Carol Landis, the blonde bombshell's descent into darkness. A stunning beauty with a vivacious personality, she was dubbed the Ping Girl and the Chest of the Future for her voluptuous figure. Born Frances Lillian Mary Ridsty on January 1, 1919, in Fairchild, Wisconsin, she changed her name to Carol Landis to reinvent herself for Hollywood. She gained fame for her role in 1 Million BC, 1940, where her scantily clad appearance made her an instant sex symbol. Despite her on-screen allure, her personal life was marred by failed marriages and tumultuous love affairs, including a highly publicized relationship with actor Rex Harrison. The constant media attention and the pressure to maintain her image led her to seek escape in alcohol. Her drinking escalated over time, affecting her ability to land quality roles and further straining her personal relationships. By the late 1940s, her career had stalled, and she found herself relegated to B-movies. Her emotional state worsened, exacerbated by her heavy drinking and a series of personal setbacks, including her failing relationship with Harrison. On July 5, 1948, she was found dead in her home in Beverly Hills. While alcohol was not the direct cause, her years of alcohol abuse had contributed to her emotional instability, culminating in her tragic death at the age of 29. Dorothy Dandridge, the barrier-breaking beauty with a broken heart. A groundbreaking African-American actress and singer, she was the first black woman to be nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actress for her role in Carmen Jones, 1954. Born on November 9, 1922, in Cleveland, Ohio, she began her career as a child performer and later transitioned to film, breaking racial barriers in Hollywood. Her success, however, came at a high emotional cost. She faced systemic racism and was often typecast in stereotypical roles, limiting her career opportunities. Her personal life was equally challenging, marked by a troubled marriage to restaurateur Jack Dennison and the birth of a daughter with special needs. The weight of these struggles led her to seek comfort in alcohol, which soon turned into a dependency. By the early 1960s, her career had declined, and she was plagued by financial difficulties. Her drinking worsened, affecting her physical health and emotional well-being. On September 8, 1965, she was found dead in her West Hollywood apartment. The official cause of death was a drug overdose, but her chronic alcohol abuse had undoubtedly played a role in her deteriorating health and tragic demise at the age of 42. Thelma Todd, the ice cream blonde who melted too soon. Nicknamed the Ice Cream Blonde for her platinum locks and creamy complexion, she was a comedic actress who lit up the screens in the late 1920s and early 1930s. Born on July 29, 1906, in Lawrence, Massachusetts, she gained fame for her roles in Hal Roach comedies, often starring alongside comedy legends like Laurel and Hardy. Her life, however, was far from comedic. She faced immense pressure to maintain her image as a glamorous starlet, which led her to seek solace in alcohol. Her drinking became a coping mechanism for the stress and loneliness that came with fame, affecting her personal relationships and career choices. In December 1935, her life took a tragic turn. She was found dead in her car, parked inside the garage of her lover Roland West's ex-wife, Jewel Carmen. The official cause of death was carbon monoxide poisoning. However, rumors swirled about possible foul play, fueled by her tumultuous love life and alleged ties to organized crime. While her death remains shrouded in mystery, her years of alcohol abuse had undoubtedly taken a toll on her emotional and physical health, making her more vulnerable to the tragic circumstances that led to her untimely death at the age of 29. Lupe Velez, the Mexican Spitfire's final flame. Known as the Mexican Spitfire, she was a force of nature both on and off the screen. Born Maria Guadalupe Villalobos Velez on July 18, 1908, in San Luis Potosi, Mexico, she moved to the United States to pursue a career in entertainment. She quickly gained fame for her roles in films like The Gaucho, 1927, and Wolf Song, 1929, often portraying fiery and passionate characters. Her personal life was equally tempestuous, marked by high-profile relationships and marriages, including a tumultuous union with actor Johnny Weissmuller. The constant media scrutiny and the pressure to maintain her vivacious public persona led her to alcohol as a coping mechanism. Her drinking escalated over the years, affecting her career and contributing to the breakdown of her relationships. By the early 1940s, her career had waned, and she found herself grappling with personal issues, including an unplanned pregnancy from a relationship with actor Harold Ramond. On December 13, 1944, she was found dead in her Beverly Hills home. Her chronic alcohol abuse had undoubtedly played a role in her emotional turmoil, leading to her tragic end at the age of 36. Frances Farmer, the rebel soul crushed by the system. A talented actress with a rebellious streak, she was known for her beauty and intelligence, but became infamous for her clashes with studio executives and law enforcement. Born on September 19, 1913, in Seattle, Washington, she gained early fame for her role in Come and Get It, 1936, which showcased her natural talent and screen presence. However, her outspoken nature and refusal to conform to Hollywood norms made her a target for negative press and studio backlash. Her career took a nosedive, and she found solace in alcohol, which soon turned into a full-blown addiction. Her drinking led to erratic behavior, arrests, and eventually involuntary commitment to psychiatric institutions where she underwent electroconvulsive therapy. By the 1950s, her career was virtually over, and she lived in obscurity, working various jobs to make ends meet. Her health deteriorated rapidly, exacerbated by years of alcohol abuse and the physical and emotional toll of her institutionalizations. On August 1, 1970, she died of esophageal cancer in Indianapolis, Indiana. While the official cause of death was cancer, Her years of alcohol abuse had significantly contributed to her declining health and tragic end at the age of 56. Peg Antwistle, the Broadway starlet who jumped off the Hollywood sign. A promising actress with roots in Broadway, she became famous not for her roles in films or plays, but for her tragic end. Born Millicent Lillian Antwistle on February 5, 1908, in Port Talbot, Wales, she moved to New York City to pursue a career in acting. She found moderate success on Broadway, but decided to try her luck in Hollywood, hoping for a breakthrough. Her Hollywood dream, however, quickly turned into a nightmare. She struggled to find meaningful roles and faced constant rejection, which took a toll on her mental health. The stress and disappointment led her to alcohol, which she used to numb her emotional pain. In September 1932, her life came to a tragic end. She climbed the Hollywoodland sign, then an advertisement for a housing development, and jumped off the letter H. She was only 24 years old. Her death note read, "I am afraid, I am a coward, I am sorry for everything." While her death was attributed to her mental health struggles, her alcohol abuse was a significant factor that exacerbated her emotional instability. Her story remains one of the most haunting tales of Hollywood, a stark reminder of the dark side of fame and the devastating impact it can have on young lives. Virginia Rapay, the silent film actress whose death shook Hollywood. A rising star in the silent film era, she was poised for greatness but met an untimely and controversial end. Born on July 7, 1895 in Chicago, Illinois, she moved to San Francisco as a young woman to pursue a career in modeling and acting. Her beauty and talent caught the eye of filmmakers, and she appeared in a series of short films, gradually making her way to Hollywood. Her life took a dark turn in 1921 during a party hosted by famous comedian Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle. She fell seriously ill at the event and died a few days later on September 9, 1921. Her death led to one of the first major Hollywood scandals, with Arbuckle accused of causing her death through sexual assault. Although he was eventually acquitted, the incident cast a long shadow over both their careers. While the exact circumstances of her death remain a subject of debate, it's widely acknowledged that her health was compromised by chronic cystitis, exacerbated by alcohol abuse. She was known to consume alcohol to cope with the pain from her condition, but the substance likely worsened her health and contributed to her tragic demise at the age of 26. Her story serves as a grim example of how the pressures of Hollywood fame, coupled with personal vulnerabilities, can lead to tragic outcomes, forever altering the course of promising young lives. Wallace Reed, the matinee idol consumed by addiction. A heartthrob of the silent film era, he was the epitome of the all-American hero on screen. Born on April 15, 1891 in St. Louis, Missouri, he quickly rose to stardom with his good looks and natural acting ability, starring in It's Like the Birth of a Nation at 1915 and The Roaring Road in 1919. Off-screen, however, he faced a battle that he couldn't win. During the filming of The Valley of the Giants in 1919, he was injured in a train wreck and prescribed morphine for his pain. The prescription turned into an addiction, one that he supplemented with alcohol as his tolerance for morphine grew. Despite his substance abuse, he continued to work at a frenetic pace, further damaging his already fragile health. His addiction became public knowledge, and the studio tried to help him by sending him to a sanitarium. However, the damage was done. His health deteriorated rapidly, and he was plagued by bouts of pneumonia and influenza, exacerbated by his weakened immune system due to years of substance abuse. On January 18, 1923, he died in a sanitarium in Pasadena, California, at the age of 31. The official cause of death was listed as influenza, but it was clear that his years of alcohol and morphine abuse had taken their toll, cutting short a promising career and life. John Gilbert, the silent film star, silenced by his demons. A leading man of the silent film era, he was often compared to greats like Rudolph Valentino for his romantic roles. Born John Cecil Pringle on July 10, 1897, in Logan, Utah, he gained fame for his collaborations with actress Greta Garbo in films like Flesh and the Devil, 1926, and Love, 1927. However, the advent of talkies proved to be his downfall. His voice didn't transition well to the new medium, and his career began to decline. This professional setback led him to seek solace in alcohol, which soon turned into a full-blown addiction. His drinking affected his ability to work, leading to fewer roles and a tarnished reputation. His personal life was equally tumultuous. He had a series of failed marriages and relationships, adding to his emotional turmoil. His health began to deteriorate due to his excessive drinking, leading to severe liver problems and other complications. On January 9, 1936, he died from a heart attack, exacerbated by his years of alcohol abuse. He was only 38 years old. His death marked the end of a career that had once been full of promise but was ultimately undone by the pressures of fame and his struggles with addiction. Bela Lugosi, the man behind Dracula's cape, best known for his iconic role as Count Dracula in the 1931 film Dracula, he was a Hungarian-American actor who became a legend in horror cinema. Born Bela Ferenc Dezo Blasco on October 20th, 1882, in Lugos, Hungary, he immigrated to the United States in 1920 and quickly found work in Hollywood. His portrayal of Dracula made him an instant star, but it also typecast him in horror roles, limiting his career opportunities. As the years passed, the roles became less frequent and less prestigious. This decline in his career led him to seek comfort in morphine and methadone, substances he initially used to treat chronic sciatica. His addiction worsened over time, affecting both his professional and personal life. Multiple attempts at rehabilitation failed, and his health deteriorated rapidly. He was virtually forgotten by the industry that once celebrated him, and he spent his final years in near obscurity. On August 16, 1956, he passed away in his Los Angeles apartment from a heart attack, but his years of substance abuse had undoubtedly contributed to his poor health. He was 73 years old. His life serves as a cautionary tale of the pitfalls of typecasting and the devastating effects of addiction, even for those who once stood at the pinnacle of Hollywood fame. Lou Teligan, the dashing actor whose flame burned out too soon. A Dutch actor and director, he was once considered one of the most handsome men in Hollywood. Born on November 26, 1881 in Sint-Edenrode, Netherlands, he moved to the United States and quickly became a sensation, starring in films like The Explorer, 1915, and The Victoria Cross, 1916. His good looks and charm couldn't protect him from the pitfalls of fame. The pressure to maintain his image and the competition for roles in a rapidly changing industry led him to seek comfort in alcohol. His drinking escalated into a serious problem, affecting both his career and personal life. His marriage to opera singer Geraldine Farrar ended in divorce, adding another layer of emotional distress. His career began to wane and roles became increasingly scarce. Financial difficulties followed, plunging him into a state of despair, a tragic end to a life that had once been filled with promise. He was 52 years old. His death shocked Hollywood and his fans, serving as a grim reminder of the destructive power of fame and addiction. Olive Thomas, the Ziegfeld Girl. A stunning beauty and one of the original Ziegfeld Foley's girls, she was on the cusp of major stardom. Born on October 20th, 1894 in Charleroi, Pennsylvania, she moved to New York City to pursue a career in modeling and acting. Her beauty quickly caught the eye of Florenz Ziegfeld, and she became one of his famed Ziegfeld girls. Her transition to films was seamless, and she starred in several silent films like The Flapper, 1920, and Everybody's Sweetheart, 1920. However, the pressures of her rapid rise to fame began to weigh on her. She married actor Jack Pickford, the younger brother of silent film star Mary Pickford, but the marriage was fraught with difficulties, including both of them engaging in excessive drinking. In a tragic turn of events, while on a second honeymoon in Paris, she ingested mercury bichloride, a toxic substance. The circumstances remain unclear, but it's widely believed to have been an accident, possibly fueled by her intoxicated state. She died on September 10, 1920, at the age of 25, just as her career was taking off. Her untimely death shocked Hollywood and her fans, and her story serves as a cautionary tale about the perils of fame and the destructive potential of substance abuse. As the spotlight dims on these tragic tales, you might be left wondering, what's the real cost of fame? These stories are not just footnotes in Hollywood history, they're cautionary tales that echo through time, reminding us that stardom has its dark side.
When you hear the name Frances Farmer, what comes to mind? Maybe her impeccable talent, or maybe her beauty and grace? Well, there's more to this legendary actress than most know about. From the fact that she single-handedly took on the entire system in Hollywood, to the harsh allegations and stumbles that her life and career threw at her, many occurrences would have been best kept secret, but they all make the eventful, sad, tragic, and intriguing life of Frances Farmer. So let's start from the top. The onset of stardom. Frances Elena Farmer was born on September 19, 1913, in Seattle, Washington. Her mother, Cora Lillian Van Ornum, was a boarding house operator and dietitian, while her father, Ernest Melvin Farmer, was a lawyer. Her father came from Spring Valley, Minnesota, and her mother was from Oregon, with roots tracing back to pioneers. Frances had an older sister named Edith, an older brother named Wesley, and an older half-sister named Rita from her mother's first marriage. Tragically, before Wesley and Edith were born, her mother lost another daughter to pneumonia during infancy. When Frances was just 4 years old, her parents separated, and her mother moved the children to Los Angeles to be closer to her sister, Zella. In early 1925, the family relocated to Chico, California, where Lillian pursued a career in nutrition research. However, the demands of caring for her children soon overwhelmed her, and she decided it was best for them to return to their father in Seattle. Their Aunt Zella drove them to Albany, Oregon, where they boarded a train back north. This turbulent period had a profound effect on Frances. She later recalled that the trip marked the end of her dependent childhood, forcing her to grapple with the unpredictable nature of adults and her shifting home life. Lillian eventually returned to Seattle after her home in Chico burned down, but she and Ernest remained separated. The family shared a household, though the parents did not reconcile. In the fall of 1929, when Frances was 16, Lillian and Ernest finalized their divorce, and Lillian moved to Bremerton, Washington, leaving the children with their father. Frances attended West Seattle High School, where she distinguished herself not only as a student, but as a writer. In 1931, as a senior, she entered a writing contest sponsored by Scholastic magazine and won $100 for her essay titled God Dies. This essay, influenced by her readings of Friedrich Nietzsche, was a bold exploration of her spiritual doubts and agnosticism, controversial for its time, and reflective of her intellectual curiosity and independent thinking. After high school, Frances enrolled at the University of Washington, initially majoring in journalism. She worked various jobs to support herself, including stints as an usherette, waitress, tutor, soap factory laborer, and singing waitress at Mount Rainier National Park. During her sophomore year, she became involved in the university's drama department, starring in numerous plays such as Helen of Troy, Everyman, and Uncle Vanya. Her performance in the 1934 production of Alien Corn earned her favorable reviews, signaling her potential as a serious actress. In her final year of college in 1935, Frances won a contest for the leftist newspaper The Voice of Action, which awarded her a trip to the Soviet Union. Despite her mother's objections, Frances accepted the prize, motivated by her desire to see the pioneering work of the Moscow Art Theater. This trip fueled speculation about her political beliefs, with some suggesting she was a communist. The same year, she graduated with a Bachelor of Arts degree in drama, setting the stage for her entry into Hollywood. An illustrious career begins. In the summer of 1935, after returning from the Soviet Union, Frances Farmer made a stop in New York City with the aim of beginning a theater career. During her stay, she met talent agent Shepard Traub, who saw her potential and connected her with Oscar Serlin, a talent scout from Paramount Pictures. Serlin arranged a screen test for Farmer, which led to an incredible opportunity. Paramount offered her a 7-year contract, which she signed in New York City on her 22nd birthday. Following her screen tests on Long Island, Farmer moved to Los Angeles to commence her work with Paramount. Upon her arrival, she underwent dental surgery to correct a gap in her front teeth, a common procedure for aspiring stars to meet Hollywood's beauty standards. She spent countless hours on the Paramount studio lot, engaged in screen testing and extensive training. By November 1935, she had secured her first role in the B-movie Too Many Parents, 1936, a comedy about young men in military school. The film was a box office success, marking a promising start to her Hollywood career. Shortly after completing the film in February 1936, Farmer married Leif Erikson, a fellow Paramount contract player she had met on the studio lot. With her marriage, she continued to build her career, landing a lead role in the drama Border Flight. Later that same year, Farmer achieved a significant milestone by being cast in her first A feature, Rhythm on the Range, a Western starring Bing Crosby. She later reminisced about the film, revealing that she had a crush on Crosby since high school and felt awestruck to work alongside him as his leading lady in her first major film. The film garnered favorable reviews and significantly boosted Farmer's public reputation. After its release, Paramount studio head Adolph Zukor called her and advised her to start acting like a rising star. However, Farmer resisted the Hollywood lifestyle, preferring to spend time at her home in Laurel Canyon with Erikson and declining invitations to Hollywood parties and events. In an attempt to market her, Paramount branded her in press releases as the star who would not go Hollywood, emphasizing her eccentric fashion choices. During the summer of 1936, Farmer was lent to Samuel Goldwyn to appear in Come and Get It, based on Edna Ferber's novel. In the film, she portrayed a young woman pursued by her mother's former lover. Initially directed by Howard Hawks, the film saw a directorial change when William Wyler replaced Hawks midway through production. Farmer, unsure about the change, clashed with Wyler during filming. Wyler later commented that the nicest thing he could say about her was that she was unbearable. Despite their tumultuous working relationship, Hawks admired Farmer's talent, stating she had more talent than anyone he had ever worked with. The film's premiere took place in Seattle, Farmer's hometown, where she maintained a quiet and reserved demeanor, leading to news reports labeling her as cold and aloof. Nonetheless, Come and Get It received praise from both the public and critics, with many reviews hailing Farmer as a newfound star, even comparing her to Greta Garbo. In 1937, Farmer was lent to RKO to star opposite Cary Grant in The Toast of New York, a film about a Wall Street tycoon. The production was fraught with difficulties as Farmer was unhappy with the rebranding of her character from a hard-edged vixen to an ingenue fresh from Sunnybrook. On set, she argued with director Roland V. Lee and gave dismissive interviews to the press. Dissatisfied with the direction her career was taking after The Toast of New York, Farmer resisted the studio's attempts to control her and their efforts to glamorize her private life. A 1937 article in Collier's magazine sympathetically described her as indifferent to her clothing and noted that she drove an older model green roadster. Also in 1937, she appeared in the crime drama exclusive opposite Fred McMurray and the Technicolor adventure film Ebb Tide opposite Ray Milland. However, as she rose to fame and became all she ever wanted in Hollywood, Frances Farmer was seen as a tool by studio executives, and they attempted to control her. Thankfully, she had a strong will and a bold personality. Exposure to the dark side of Hollywood. Hollywood around the 1930s was not a pretty sight, especially behind the scenes. Studio executives wielded immense power, often treating actors as mere commodities. These executives, the unseen puppeteers, orchestrated every move of the stars they created, ensuring that every smile, every line, and every appearance was meticulously controlled to maximize profit. They thrived on the submission and conformity of their stars, but Frances Farmer was not one to conform. From the moment she set foot in Hollywood, Farmer's fiery spirit and determination to retain her individuality were evident. While most newcomers would eagerly submit to the studio's demands, Frances displayed an unusual defiance. Paramount Pictures, one of the most influential studios, quickly realized they had a different kind of star on their hands. Despite their attempts to mold her into the perfect Hollywood actress, Frances resisted fiercely. Farmer's outspoken nature made her a thorn in the side of studio executives. She challenged the oppressive norms of the industry, openly criticizing the lack of creative freedom and the manipulative practices of the studio heads. She refused to attend glamorous parties, shunned the superficial lifestyle, and publicly derided the industry's pretentiousness. This rebellious attitude was both a strength and a vulnerability. One significant clash occurred during the filming of Come and Get It. Initially directed by Howard Hawks, the production saw a midway directorial switch to William Wyler, a move that angered Frances. Her defiance was palpable, resulting in heated exchanges with Wyler, who later remarked that the nicest thing he could say about her was that she was unbearable. Yet Hawks, who had seen her talent firsthand, maintained that she possessed more talent than anyone he had ever worked with. Frances's tumultuous relationship with directors was a reflection of her broader resistance to the control exerted by studio executives. The consequences of Frances's rebellious behavior were swift and severe. Paramount, frustrated by her nonconformity, sought to rein her in by branding her as the star who would not go Hollywood, capitalizing on her eccentricity while subtly attempting to isolate her. Despite her successful performances in films like Rhythm on the Range and Come and Get It, her defiance meant that studio heads viewed her as a liability. The industry's response to her rebellion was not to support or understand, but to control and punish. Farmer was lent to other studios, often relegated to roles that did not match her talent or ambitions. Her dissatisfaction with her career direction became apparent during the production of The Toast of New York, where she clashed with director Roland V. Lee and expressed her disdain for the industry in interviews. The secret she tried to hide. Frances Farmer's personal life was as tumultuous as her career. The vivacious actress, often caught in the public eye, struggled to balance her professional and private worlds. Her marriage to fellow Paramount contract player Leif Erikson in 1936 was a notable chapter in her life. However, the pressures of Hollywood and their careers took a toll on their relationship, which was further strained by Farmer's growing discontent with the industry. Despite the glamorous image projected by the studio, Farmer's personal life was far from perfect. She often found solace in her home in Laurel Canyon, preferring the quiet of her private sanctuary to the glitzy Hollywood parties. This retreat into her personal space, however, did not shield her from the relentless scrutiny and control exerted by the studio executives. Beneath the surface of her rebellious exterior, Frances Farmer grappled with significant mental health issues. The pressures of stardom, combined with her intrinsic defiance of the Hollywood system, led to severe emotional turmoil. In an era when mental health was poorly understood and often stigmatized, Farmer's struggles were compounded by a lack of proper support and treatment. Substance abuse became a tragic coping mechanism for Farmer. The cocktail of alcohol and prescribed medications she relied on further clouded her judgment and exacerbated her mental health issues. This spiral of addiction and untreated mental illness led to increasingly erratic behavior, which the studios were ill-equipped to manage with anything other than punitive measures. The culmination of Farmer's struggles came in 1942 when she was infamously arrested for driving with her headlights on high beam, a minor infraction that escalated dramatically. Her arrest quickly devolved into a scandal, amplified by her defiance and the subsequent sensationalist media coverage. During the arrest, Farmer's outburst and resistance to the police were widely publicized, painting her as a volatile and unhinged star. The aftermath of the arrest was even more damning. The court deemed her behavior as evidence of severe mental instability, leading to a series of incarcerations in psychiatric institutions. These institutions, far from providing the help she needed, subjected her to brutal treatments, including electroconvulsive therapy and lobotomy, practices that were more punitive than therapeutic. The nightmare continues. By the early 1940s, Farmer's mental health had deteriorated significantly. Her defiance against the studio system, coupled with her struggles with substance abuse, led to increasingly erratic behavior. The public nature of her troubles only intensified the scrutiny and pressure she faced. The infamous 1942 arrest was the turning point. After being apprehended for a minor traffic violation, Farmer's vehement resistance and the subsequent courtroom outburst were widely reported. Labeled as unmanageable and unstable, the court ordered a psychiatric evaluation. The media, ever hungry for scandal, painted her as a madwoman, and the judicial system, influenced by the sensationalist press and the lack of understanding of mental health, deemed her unfit. The result was her commitment to a series of psychiatric institutions, starting with the Kimball Sanitarium in La Crescenta, California. On the other hand, Farmer's time in psychiatric institutions was marked by allegations of severe mistreatment and abuse, transforming her struggle into a nightmarish ordeal. These facilities, far from being havens of healing, subjected her to a series of punitive treatments that were both archaic and inhumane. Reports and accounts from Farmer and those close to her painted a grim picture of the conditions she endured. At Western State Hospital in Steilacoom, Washington, where she spent a significant portion of her institutionalization, Farmer allegedly underwent electroconvulsive therapy, ECT. This treatment, often administered without proper anesthesia or consent, was excruciating and left her disoriented and traumatized. ECT was used liberally during that era, more as a tool to subdue and control patients than to offer genuine therapeutic benefits. Farmer also recounted being subjected to hydrotherapy, which involved being submerged in cold water for extended periods, and prolonged solitary confinement. These methods were intended to break her spirit and force compliance. However, the most harrowing allegation was that of a transorbital lobotomy, a procedure that was rumored but never conclusively proven. If true, this would have had devastating and irreversible effects on her mental and emotional faculties. Beyond the physical torture, Farmer faced psychological abuse and neglect. Isolated from her family and friends, she was stripped of her dignity and humanity. The staff, seeing her as merely another unruly patient, treated her with contempt and indifference. This compounded her sense of abandonment and hopelessness, deepening her psychological scars. The years Frances Farmer spent in psychiatric institutions irreparably damaged her life and career. Emerging from the harrowing experiences, she was a shadow of her former self. The once vibrant and defiant actress was now subdued, her spirit broken by the relentless abuse and mistreatment. The stigma of her institutionalization followed her, overshadowing her previous achievements and tainting public perception. Her career, once brimming with potential, was in ruins. Hollywood, ever fickle, had moved on, and the industry that once celebrated her talent now shunned her. Attempts to resurrect her career met with limited success. In the 1950s, Farmer made sporadic appearances on stage and television, but she was never able to recapture the heights of her early success. The public, conditioned by years of scandalous headlines, viewed her with a mixture of pity and suspicion. The psychological toll of her institutionalization was profound. Farmer struggled with trust and intimacy, her relationships marred by the trauma she endured. Her mental health, though somewhat stabilized, remained fragile, and she battled with the lasting effects of the abuse for the rest of her life. The narrative of her life became a cautionary tale of the brutal realities faced by those who fall out of favor with Hollywood's powerful elite. Failed attempts at a comeback. Emerging from the shadows of psychiatric institutions in the early 1950s, Frances Farmer embarked on a courageous journey to reclaim her career and life. The Hollywood she re-entered was markedly different from the one she had left, with new stars and shifting trends. Despite the odds, Farmer's determination to revive her career was unwavering. Farmer's first significant step towards a comeback came with her return to the stage. She appeared in regional theater productions, where she found solace and a semblance of normalcy. Farmer's attempts to revive her career were met with challenges, both within the industry and in her personal life. The Hollywood elite, wary of her troubled history, were reluctant to offer her significant roles. The industry's focus on youth and glamour further marginalized Farmer, who was now in her 40s and bore the scars of her ordeals. The press, ever eager for sensational stories, continued to scrutinize her every move. Any misstep or hint of instability was magnified, making it difficult for Farmer to fully escape her past. The constant public and media scrutiny took a toll on her mental health, exacerbating her struggles. On a personal level, Farmer faced numerous obstacles. Her relationships were often strained by the residual effects of her institutionalization and the trauma she had endured. Trust issues and emotional scars made it difficult for her to form lasting connections. She experienced periods of isolation and depression, battling the lingering demons of her past. Farmer's financial situation was also precarious. The years of institutionalization had drained her resources, and the sporadic nature of her work provided little financial security. She often relied on the support of friends and family who stood by her during her most challenging times. Despite these hardships, Farmer showed remarkable resilience. Her autobiography, Will There Really Be a Morning, published in 1972, offered a candid and poignant account of her life and struggles. The book received critical acclaim and helped to shift public perception, portraying Farmer not just as a tragic figure, but as a survivor of a deeply flawed system. Her sad final years. Frances Farmer's final years were a blend of quiet resilience and lingering sorrow. After her show, Frances Farmer Presents, ended in 1964, she retreated from the public eye, choosing to live a more private life. Her health, both mental and physical, continued to be a concern, with bouts of illness and depression marking her later years. In the late 1960s, she moved to a small home in Indianapolis, where she lived with a companion who provided care and support. Her life became one of relative solitude, far removed from the glitz and glamour of Hollywood.
Yet, in this quiet existence, Farmer found a degree of peace. Tragically, Frances Farmer passed away on August 1, 1970, at the age of 56 from esophageal cancer. Her death marked the end of a tumultuous journey.
The demands of Hollywood could cripple any average person, but those who succeed are the ones who are not just talented but push beyond the boundaries to make it and are celebrated for it. But the truth remains that some of these Hollywood stars relied on several methods to help them cope. The most popular of all was found at the bottom of the bottle. Sadly, the poison of excessive alcohol caught up with most of these actors. William Claude Dukenfield. He rose to fame as a silent juggler, known for his raspy drawl and sophisticated vocabulary. Despite his on-screen fondness for alcohol, which he portrayed convincingly, the actor surprisingly abstained from drinking until he felt the isolation of constant travel. Eventually, loneliness caught up with him, leading him to keep alcohol in his dressing room and eventually develop a regular drinking habit after retiring from juggling. If there was one role that cemented his reputation as an alcoholic, it was his portrayal of Professor Henry R. Quayle in the 1933 pre-code comedy International House. In the film, he played an aviator with an insatiable thirst for beer, a trait he began to adopt in real life. Like many actors of his time, he sometimes filmed scenes while intoxicated, yet this often added an intriguing edge to his performances that audiences loved. Sadly, his career declined slowly, and he spent the last 22 months of his life in a California sanitarium, passing away at the age of 66 on Christmas. Moving on to another tragic figure, William Holden, a multi-award-winning actor who faced perhaps the most tragic ending among the actors mentioned here. Holden achieved acclaim with prestigious awards such as the Academy Award for Best Actor and the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Limited Anthology Series or Movie. His career flourished with several successful films and roles that made him a beloved figure in Hollywood. However, as the 1960s arrived, he found himself competing with a new generation of actors while his own popularity began to wane. This decline coincided with his increasing reliance on alcohol, a struggle that became an open secret in Hollywood circles for years. Despite his reputation, Holden remained dedicated to his craft, continuing to accept challenging roles until the end. His tragic death occurred on November 12, 1981, when he suffered a fatal fall at home, hitting his head and bleeding to death. The Los Angeles County coroner's autopsy later confirmed he was intoxicated at the time of the accident, underscoring the poignant end to his illustrious career. These stories highlight the complex lives and struggles faced by some of Hollywood's most talented and celebrated actors. Roman Navarro. Born José Ramón Gil Samaniego on February 6, 1899 in Durango, Mexico, Ramón Navarro rose to fame as one of the leading actors during Hollywood's silent film era. His career spanned from the 1910s through the early talkies of the 1930s, establishing him as a charismatic and talented performer. Navarro's early success was marked by his roles in films such as Ben-Hur, 1925, where he portrayed the titular character with vigor and emotional depth, solidifying his status as a matinee idol. Despite his on-screen triumphs, Navarro battled personal demons throughout his life, notably alcoholism. The pressures of fame and the demanding Hollywood lifestyle exacerbated his struggles with addiction, leading to periods of erratic behavior and personal turmoil. Behind the scenes, Navarro's challenges with alcohol impacted his relationships and career trajectory, often overshadowing his professional accomplishments. Throughout the 1930s, as Hollywood transitioned to sound films, Navarro faced increasing competition and changing audience tastes. His roles became less frequent, and the industry's shift posed additional challenges for his career. Despite attempts to revive his star status, including ventures into character roles in theater, Navarro's personal battles with alcohol continued to hinder his professional endeavors. Beyond his career struggles, Navarro's personal life also bore the scars of his addiction. He grappled with strained relationships and financial instability, further complicating his journey. Despite efforts to seek treatment and intermittent periods of sobriety, Navarro's addiction remained a persistent force in his life until his tragic death. In 1968, at the age of 69, Ramon Navarro's life came to a tragic end when he was brutally murdered in his home. The circumstances surrounding his death highlighted the dark undercurrents of his final years, underscoring the profound impact of his lifelong battle with alcoholism on both his personal and professional life. Marion Davies. Born Marion Cecilia Duras on January 3, 1897 in Brooklyn, New York, Marion Davies emerged as a prominent actress during Hollywood's golden age. Known for her comedic talent and versatility, Davies captivated audiences with her performances in silent films and later in talkies. Her career flourished under the patronage of media mogul William Randolph Hearst, with whom she had a complex and influential relationship. Despite her professional success and charm on screen, Davies faced personal challenges, most notably her struggle with alcoholism. The pressures of fame, coupled with the tumultuous dynamics of her relationship with Hearst, contributed to her reliance on alcohol as a coping mechanism. Throughout her Hollywood career, Davies battled periods of addiction, which at times overshadowed her achievements in film. Davies's association with Hearst, who exerted significant influence over her career and public image, added layers of complexity to her personal life. Despite her efforts to maintain a public facade of glamour and success, behind the scenes, Davies grappled with the private burden of addiction. Her struggles with alcoholism strained relationships and occasionally disrupted her work, reflecting the toll of her dependency. In later years, Davies' battle with alcoholism became a part of her legacy, intertwined with her contributions to early Hollywood cinema. Her story serves as a poignant reminder of the complexities faced by women in the entertainment industry during the early 20th century, navigating between personal struggles and professional aspirations amidst the glare of public scrutiny. Marion Davies passed away on September 22, 1961, leaving behind a legacy marked by her talent, resilience, and the enduring impact of her performances. Her journey through fame, intertwined with the challenges of addiction, remains a compelling chapter in the history of vintage Hollywood. Franchot Tone. Born Stanislaus Pascal Franchot Tone on February 27, 1905, in Niagara Falls, New York, Franchot Tone established himself as a versatile actor known for his roles in classic Hollywood films. With a career spanning from the 1930s through the 1960s, Tone garnered acclaim for his ability to portray a wide range of characters with depth and sophistication. Despite his professional successes, Tone grappled with a persistent struggle with alcoholism throughout his career. The pressures of Hollywood's demanding schedules, coupled with the temptations of celebrity life, contributed to Tone's reliance on alcohol as a means of coping with the stresses of his career and personal life. Tone's battle with alcoholism often intersected with his professional endeavors, impacting his ability to maintain consistent work and affecting the quality of his performances at times. Despite his talent and dedication to his craft, periods of addiction led to sporadic career challenges and personal setbacks, underscoring the toll of his dependency on both his professional and personal life. Throughout the years, Tone made efforts to confront his addiction, seeking periods of sobriety and occasionally receiving treatment. However, the cyclical nature of alcoholism posed ongoing challenges, influencing his relationships and career trajectory in unpredictable ways. Despite these challenges, Tone's legacy endures through his memorable performances in films such as Mutiny on the Bounty, 1935, for which he received an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor in a Leading Role. His ability to bring depth and nuance to his characters despite personal struggles remains a testament to his talent and dedication to his craft. Franchot Tone passed away on September 18, 1968, leaving behind a legacy marked by his contributions to classic Hollywood cinema and the enduring impact of his performances. Preston Sturgis. Born Edmund Preston Biden on August 29, 1898, in Chicago, Illinois, Preston Sturgis became renowned in Hollywood for his sharp wit and comedic genius as a writer and director. During the 1940s, he achieved acclaim for his ability to blend sophisticated humor with social commentary, making him a pioneer in the screwball comedy genre. Despite his creative success, Sturgis battled a persistent struggle with alcoholism that cast a shadow over his career. The demands of Hollywood's competitive and often tumultuous environment, combined with the pressures of maintaining a prolific output, contributed to Sturgis's reliance on alcohol as a coping mechanism. Sturgis's alcoholism affected his professional life in significant ways. At times, his addiction led to periods of erratic behavior and strained relationships with studio executives and collaborators. Despite his creative brilliance, the unpredictability stemming from his dependency occasionally disrupted production schedules and impacted the reception of his films. Throughout his career, Sturgis made efforts to confront his addiction, often seeking periods of sobriety and attempting to channel his struggles into his creative work. However, the cyclical nature of alcoholism posed ongoing challenges influencing both his personal life and professional endeavors. Despite these challenges, Sturgis left an indelible mark on Hollywood with films such as The Lady Eve, 1941, and Sullivan's Travels, 1941, which continue to be celebrated for their sharp dialogue, memorable characters, and satirical edge. His ability to inject wit and humor into his films, despite personal setbacks, remains a testament to his enduring talent and resilience in the face of adversity. Preston Sturgis passed away on August 6, 1959. William Haynes. Born Charles William Haynes on January 2, 1900 in Staunton, Virginia, William Haynes rose to prominence as a charismatic and talented actor during Hollywood's silent film era. Known for his dashing good looks and comedic timing, Haynes quickly became a popular leading man in silent films, captivating audiences with his charm and on-screen presence. In the 1920s, Haynes's career soared with successful roles in films such as Brown of Harvard, 1926, and Tell It to the Marines, 1926, establishing him as one of Hollywood's top stars. His popularity extended beyond his acting talents, as he became known for his off-screen persona as a fashionable and openly gay celebrity, which was rare and controversial for the time. However, despite his early successes, Haynes faced personal challenges that would impact his career trajectory. His struggles with alcoholism began to emerge as a significant issue, exacerbated by the pressures of Hollywood's competitive and demanding environment. As the industry transitioned to talkies in the late 1920s and early 1930s, Haynes found it increasingly difficult to maintain his status as a leading man. Haynes's dependency on alcohol contributed to a decline in his career opportunities. Studios, concerned about his reliability and public image, began to withdraw offers for leading roles. Despite attempts to continue acting in supporting roles and comedy films, Haynes's career never fully recovered from the impact of his addiction. In 1933, faced with dwindling prospects in Hollywood, Haynes made the difficult decision to retire from acting. He transitioned into a successful second career as an interior designer, leveraging his eye for style and creativity to become highly sought after among Hollywood's elite. Despite the challenges posed by alcoholism, William Haynes left a lasting legacy in both Hollywood and interior design. His early contributions to silent and early talkie cinema continue to be appreciated for their wit and charm, while his influence on interior design aesthetics remains influential to this day. William Haynes passed away on December 26, 1973, leaving behind a legacy that reflects both the highs of Hollywood stardom and the personal struggles that shaped his journey. His story serves as a poignant reminder of the complexities faced by stars in navigating fame, personal identity, and the pressures of addiction during Hollywood's golden age. Bela Lugosi. Born Bela Ferenc Dezoblasco on October 20, 1882, in Lugos, Kingdom of Hungary, now Lugoj, Romania, Bela Lugosi achieved international fame as an iconic actor in horror cinema, notably for his definitive portrayal of Count Dracula in the 1931 film adaptation. Lugosi's commanding presence, captivating accent and theatrical charisma made him synonymous with the role of the vampire count, solidifying his status as a horror film legend. Despite his success and enduring legacy in the horror genre, Lugosi faced personal demons that impacted his Hollywood career. Throughout his time in the spotlight, Lugosi battled a profound addiction to alcohol, which exacerbated his struggles with mental health and impacted his professional endeavors. The pressures of maintaining a public persona as the master of macabre took a toll on Lugosi, leading him to rely on alcohol as a coping mechanism. His addiction often resulted in erratic behavior and strained relationships within the industry, hindering his ability to capitalize fully on his early success as Dracula. Despite periodic attempts to seek treatment and regain control over his addiction, including brief periods of sobriety, Lugosi's battle with alcoholism persisted throughout his life. The cyclical nature of addiction frequently interrupted his career momentum and led to missed opportunities in Hollywood. Nevertheless, Lugosi's impact on the horror genre remains undeniable. Beyond his iconic portrayal of Dracula, he continued to appear in numerous horror films and gained a dedicated fan following for his distinctive style and magnetic screen presence. His ability to evoke both fear and sympathy from audiences solidified his place in cinematic history. Bela Lugosi passed away on August 16, 1956, leaving behind a legacy marked by his contributions to horror cinema and the enduring influence of his portrayal of Count Dracula. His story serves as a reminder of the complexities faced by actors in navigating fame, personal challenges, and the enduring allure of Hollywood's darker realms. Dorothy McHale. Born Dorothy Davenport on March 4, 1903 in Kingston upon Hull, England, Dorothy McHale was a talented actress who made her mark during Hollywood's silent film era and early talkies. Known for her beauty, versatility, and on-screen presence, McHale captivated audiences with her performances in a variety of roles, ranging from romantic comedies to dramas. Despite her professional successes, McHale faced personal challenges that would impact her career and personal life. Like many in Hollywood during her time, she struggled with alcohol addiction, which became a persistent issue throughout her career. The pressures of maintaining a public image, combined with the demanding and competitive nature of the film industry, contributed to her reliance on alcohol as a coping mechanism. McHale's addiction affected her ability to secure consistent and substantial roles in Hollywood. Despite her talent and appeal, periods of dependency led to erratic behavior and professional setbacks, hampering her career trajectory and limiting opportunities for significant roles. Throughout her life, McHale made efforts to confront her addiction, seeking treatment and periods of sobriety. However, the cyclical nature of alcoholism posed ongoing challenges, impacting both her personal life and professional endeavors. Despite the difficulties posed by her addiction, Dorothy McHale left behind a legacy of memorable performances and contributions to early Hollywood cinema. Her ability to captivate audiences with her charm and versatility continues to be appreciated by film enthusiasts, highlighting her enduring impact on the industry. Dorothy McHale passed away on August 12, 1990, leaving behind a legacy marked by her talent, resilience, and the complexities of navigating fame and personal challenges during Hollywood's golden age. Her story serves as a poignant reminder of the pressures faced by actors and actresses in the early days of cinema and the personal toll of addiction on their lives and careers. Louise Brooks. Born Mary Louise Brooks on November 14, 1906, in Cherryvale, Kansas, Louise Brooks emerged as an iconic figure in silent film history, celebrated for her distinctive bob haircut and magnetic screen presence. Her breakthrough role in G.W. Pabst's Pandora's Box, 1929, solidified her status as a symbol of the liberated and modern woman of the 1920s. Despite her early success and enduring influence on cinema, Brooks faced profound personal struggles throughout her life. Among these challenges were battles with alcoholism and mental health issues, which cast shadows over her career and personal relationships. The pressures of fame and the demanding nature of the film industry contributed to Brooks's reliance on alcohol as a coping mechanism. Her addiction occasionally led to erratic behavior and strained professional opportunities, impacting her ability to capitalize fully on her early acclaim. Beyond her struggles with alcoholism, Brooks also grappled with mental health issues, including bouts of depression and anxiety. These challenges added layers of complexity to her personal life and career, influencing her relationships and artistic pursuits. Louise Brooks passed away on August 8, 1985, leaving behind a legacy marked by her artistic vision, personal struggles, and the enduring allure of her cinematic presence. Jean Eagles. Born Eugenia Eagles on June 26, 1890, in Kansas City, Missouri, Jean Eagles was a stage and film actress whose talent and intensity captivated audiences during the early 20th century. She gained acclaim for her powerful performances on Broadway and later transitioned to Hollywood, where she made a significant impact despite a tragically short film career. Eagles' breakthrough role came with her portrayal of Leslie Crosby in the 1929 film adaptation of W. Somerset Maugham's play, The Letter. Her performance as a woman embroiled in scandal and intrigue earned her widespread praise and a nomination for the Academy Award for Best Actress, cementing her reputation as a formidable talent in both stage and screen. However, behind her professional success lay personal struggles that would profoundly affect her life and career. Throughout her adult life, Eagles battled with alcoholism and substance abuse, which often overshadowed her artistic achievements. The pressures of fame, coupled with the demanding nature of her work, contributed to her reliance on alcohol and drugs as coping mechanisms. Eagles' addiction issues led to periods of erratic behavior and strained relationships, both personal and professional. Despite efforts to seek treatment and intermittent periods of sobriety, her dependency continued to impact her ability to maintain a stable career trajectory and fully capitalize on her early successes. Despite these challenges, Eagles' talent and presence on stage and screen left an indelible mark on the entertainment industry. Her ability to portray complex characters with depth and emotional authenticity resonated deeply with audiences, showcasing her ability to capture the complexities of human emotion and frailty. Tragically, Jean Eagles' life was cut short at the age of 39 on October 3, 1929, due to complications from alcoholism and drug addiction. Her untimely death marked the premature end of a career that showed immense promise and potential, leaving behind a legacy defined by her talent, intensity, and the tragic consequences of addiction in the golden age of Hollywood. In an era when speaking one's mind was reserved for the bold, Mae West dared to whisper, then shout her truths into the roaring silence of societal expectation. She was a woman who owned her desires, her wit sharper than the censorship that sought to silence her. With a career that danced daringly on the edge of scandal, West became not just a subject of controversy but a beacon of unapologetic self-expression. As whispers turned into headlines, Mae West's provocations were not merely for shock value, they were declarations of her fierce independence. Her battles with censorship were legendary, a testament to her refusal to be anything but authentically Mae. But were her scandalous quips and daring roles merely the antics of a Hollywood starlet, or were they the calculated moves of a woman far ahead of her time? Mae West, the scandalous queen of early Hollywood, was more than just her controversies. She was a pioneer, a strategist in the art of fame, using scandal as a spotlight to illuminate her talent and challenge the status quo. This video delves into the life of Mae West, a woman who wielded her wit and sexuality like weapons, cutting through the constraints of her time to leave an indelible mark on Hollywood and beyond. Prepare to uncover the story of Mae West, a woman who was not just a part of Hollywood's history, but a force that helped shape it. A Star is Born. In the bustling streets of Brooklyn, New York on August 17, 1893, a star was born into an era ripe for change. Mae West,
christened Mary Jane West, entered the world with a spark that would ignite a firestorm of controversy and admiration in equal measure. The daughter of a prize fighter and a corset model, May inherited a blend of toughness and allure that would define her persona both on and off the stage. From a young age, May was no stranger to the spotlight. By the tender age of 7, she was performing at church socials, her confidence overshadowing her years. It wasn't long before the vaudeville stages of New York called, and May answered with gusto. By her teens, she was a seasoned performer, crafting characters that flirted with the boundaries of propriety and daring to say what others only dared to think. The early 1900s were a time of rigid social norms and strict moral codes, but Mae West saw these as mere suggestions. Her first foray into Broadway with the play Sex in 1926 was a bold declaration of her views on sexuality and freedom. The play was a sensation, not just for its content, but for the audacity of its creator. May not only wrote the play, but also starred as its lead, embodying the role of a liberated woman in control of her destiny. Sex was a triumph in attendance, but a scandal in the eyes of the law. In 1927, May was arrested and charged with obscenity. The trial was a spectacle, with May using the courtroom as yet another stage from which to project her unyielding belief in personal freedom. She served 8 days in jail, a sentence she claimed to have worn like a badge of honor, turning her incarceration into yet another tool for publicity. This brush with the law did little to deter May. If anything, it solidified her status as a provocateur and a champion of free expression. She returned to Broadway with Diamond Lil in 1928, a play that introduced the world to one of her most enduring characters. Diamond Lil was a flamboyant, savvy woman of the night, traits that would become synonymous with West herself. Mae West's early career was a dance between scandal and success, each step carefully choreographed to challenge the status quo while captivating the public's imagination. She was more than an actress or a playwright. She was a cultural icon in the making, a woman whose name would become etched in the annals of entertainment history. Broadway's provocateur. Following the uproar of Sex and her brief stint behind bars, Mae West's resolve only strengthened. She returned to the Broadway stage with Diamond Lil in 1928, a production that would cement her status as a theatrical force. The character of Diamond Lil, a savvy, sexually autonomous woman navigating the underbelly of New York society, was a reflection of West herself. Bold, unapologetic, and deeply in tune with the complexities of female power and desire, Diamond Lil was a roaring success, captivating audiences with its blend of humor, drama, and Mae's undeniable charisma. The play's success was a testament to West's skill as a writer and performer, but also to her keen understanding of public appetite. She knew what people wanted, entertainment that was both provocative and intelligent, and she delivered it with unmatched flair. The success of Diamond Lil catapulted Mae to new heights of fame. She became a fixture of the New York social scene, her every move followed by the press. Yet, despite her growing celebrity, Mae remained focused on her craft. She continued to write and perform, pushing the boundaries of what was considered acceptable on the Broadway stage. In the early 1930s, Hollywood began to take notice of this Broadway sensation. The film industry was in the midst of a transition, with the advent of talkies revolutionizing cinema. Studios were on the lookout for new talent, and Mae West, with her distinctive voice and larger-than-life persona, was a perfect fit. Paramount Pictures extended an offer, and Mae, ever the opportunist, saw the potential for a new platform from which to share her unique brand of entertainment. She made her film debut in Night After Night, 1932, a move that would mark the beginning of her storied Hollywood career. But Mae's transition to film was not just a change of medium, it was a strategic expansion of her influence. In Hollywood, she would not only be a star, but a writer and a shaper of her own image. She negotiated unprecedented control over her scripts, ensuring that her film characters echoed the boldness and wit of her stage personas. Hollywood calls. As Mae West stepped into the glittering world of Hollywood, she brought with her the audacity and wit that had made her a Broadway star. Her arrival in the film industry was timely. Hollywood was in the throes of the pre-code era, a golden window before strict censorship would clamp down on the creative liberties filmmakers enjoyed. Mae's debut in Night After Night was more than just an entrance. It was a declaration that she was here to stay, and Hollywood would never be the same. Mae's impact was immediate. In Night After Night, a film that initially had her cast in a supporting role, Mae's presence was so magnetic that she stole the show. Her famous line, delivered with the perfect blend of innuendo and confidence, "Why don't you come up sometime and see me?" became an instant catchphrase, embodying the Mae West persona that would captivate audiences. Paramount Pictures, recognizing the goldmine they had, quickly signed Mae to a contract, making her one of the highest-paid actresses of her time. With this new platform, Mae took Hollywood by storm, starring in and scripting films like She Done Him Wrong, 1933, and I'm No Angel, 1933. These films not only showcased Mae's talent, but also her unparalleled ability to craft characters and narratives that resonated with audiences while pushing societal boundaries. She Done Him Wrong and I'm No Angel were monumental successes, breaking box office records and saving Paramount Pictures from the brink of bankruptcy. Mae's portrayal of strong, sexually confident women was revolutionary, offering a stark contrast to the demure female roles that had dominated the screen. Her characters were in control, unafraid of their desires and unapologetically themselves, reflecting Mae's own philosophy of life. However, Mae's success and her challenges to societal norms did not go unnoticed by the censors. The Hays Code, Hollywood's attempt to self-regulate content deemed immoral or obscene, was about to take full effect, and Mae West's films were squarely in its sights. Her work, which thrived on double entendres and sexual innuendo, was exactly the kind of content the code aimed to cleanse from the silver screen. The tightening of censorship marked a turning point in Mae's career. Her subsequent films faced heavy editing and censorship, diluting the very essence that made her work stand out. Despite these challenges, Mae's spirit remained unbroken. She continued to work within the confines of the code, using her wit and intelligence to navigate the restrictions placed upon her. Mae West's foray into Hollywood was a testament to her brilliance as an entertainer and her resilience in the face of adversity. She had not only made her mark, but had also paved the way for future generations of women in entertainment, challenging the industry's norms and fighting for the freedom of expression. Hollywood had called, and Mae West had answered, forever altering the landscape of American cinema. The censorship battles. As Mae West's star ascended in Hollywood, so too did the scrutiny of her work. The early 1930s, a period of relative freedom in film content, was drawing to a close, and the Hays Code, introduced in 1930 but loosely enforced, was about to tighten its grip on Hollywood. Mae, with her risque dialogue and bold portrayals of female sexuality, found herself at the forefront of this impending cultural clash. The release of I'm No Angel in 1933 coincided with a pivotal moment in Hollywood history. The film, which Mae both wrote and starred in, was a box office triumph, but it also became a lightning rod for censorship debates. Mae's character, a circus performer who uses her wit and charm to climb the social ladder, was a direct challenge to the traditional roles women were expected to play, both on screen and in society. The success of Mae's films had made her an icon of empowerment, but to the newly empowered Production Code Administration led by Joseph Breen, she represented a threat to moral standards. The administration began to enforce the code more strictly, demanding cuts and changes to scripts before they could be produced. Mae's work was particularly targeted, with censors meticulously combing through her dialogue for any hint of impropriety. Mae, ever resourceful, responded to these challenges with her characteristic wit. She found ways to skirt the censor's demands, embedding her dialogue with double entendres that flew under the radar of the code's enforcers. Her ability to do so was a testament to her skill as a writer and her understanding of the cultural boundaries she was navigating. Despite her efforts, the enforcement of the Hays Code marked a shift in Mae West's career. Her films after the code's strict enforcement lacked the same provocative edge, leading to a decline in her box office draw. The landscape of American cinema was changing, and Mae, once the queen of innuendo and sexual freedom, found her kingdom increasingly constrained by censorship. The battles Mae West faced against censorship were not merely about artistic freedom. They were reflective of a larger societal struggle over the control of female sexuality and expression. Mae's defiance of the code and her attempts to navigate its restrictions were emblematic of her broader fight for personal and creative autonomy. In the face of these challenges, Mae West's legacy as a pioneer of sexual liberation and a challenger of censorship was cemented. Her battles with the Hays Code would go down in history as a critical moment in the fight for freedom of expression in Hollywood, underscoring the enduring impact of her work on American culture and cinema. Eon of sexual liberation. In the midst of her censorship battles, Mae West emerged as a beacon of sexual liberation, far ahead of her time. Her unabashed embrace of her sexuality and her advocacy for personal freedom resonated deeply in a society bound by conservative norms. Mae's influence extended beyond the silver screen. She became a symbol of the burgeoning movement for sexual liberation and gender equality. Mae's public persona and her characters shared a common thread, a refusal to conform to the expectations placed upon women. She portrayed strong, independent women who were in control of their destinies and unashamed of their desires. This portrayal was revolutionary, challenging the notion that women's sexuality should be repressed or hidden. Beyond her roles, Mae was vocal about her beliefs in interviews and public appearances. She advocated for the right to love freely, regardless of societal constraints. Her support for the LGBTQ+ community, at a time when such stances were rare, further solidified her status as a progressive icon. Mae's mansion in Hollywood became a gathering place for artists, writers, and actors, including those marginalized by mainstream society. Mae's approach to sexuality was not just about defiance, it was also about empowerment. She believed in the power of self-expression as a means of gaining autonomy and respect. This philosophy was evident in her personal life as well. Mae's relationships, often with younger men, defied the double standards that celebrated male sexuality while vilifying female desire. The impact of Mae West's advocacy for sexual liberation was profound. She opened doors for discussions about sexuality and gender that would gain momentum in the decades following her heyday. Her legacy in this arena is a testament to her foresight and courage. Mae understood that the personal was political, and her life was a living example of this principle. The art of scandal. Mae West's career was a masterclass in the art of scandal, a delicate dance between controversy and acclaim that she navigated with unparalleled grace. Each scandal, rather than diminishing her star, only seemed to burnish it further, endearing her to a public hungry for the bold and the sensational. Mae understood the power of scandal not just as a tool for publicity, but as a weapon against the constraints of her time. Her approach to scandal was strategic. Mae never shied away from controversy. Instead, she embraced it, using it to highlight the absurdity of societal taboos. Her arrests and the censorship battles she faced were not setbacks, but opportunities to engage in a larger conversation about freedom of expression and the role of women in society. Mae's ability to turn scandal into dialogue was a testament to her intelligence and her understanding of the media landscape. Mae's scandals were not just personal battles, they were public performances that challenged the status quo. Her arrest for sex and the subsequent trial was a national sensation, covered extensively in the press. May's response to the controversy was to wear it as a badge of honor, famously quipping that it had taken her all the way to bank. This ability to spin scandal to her advantage was one of May's most remarkable talents. The art of scandal, as practiced by Mae West, was about more than just generating headlines. It was about challenging and changing cultural norms. Each controversy she stirred was a strike against the puritanical constraints of her era, a deliberate act of rebellion against a society that sought to confine her. May's scandals were calculated, crafted with the precision of a playwright, each one a scene in the larger drama of her public life. Mae West's legacy in the art of scandal is enduring. She demonstrated that controversy, when wielded by a master, could be a force for change, a way to push society forward. May's scandals were not just moments of rebellion. They were catalysts for a broader dialogue about sexuality, censorship, and the role of women in the public sphere. Through her mastery of scandal, Mae West left an indelible mark on American culture, one that continues to resonate long after the headlines faded. Enigmatic Twilight. As the golden glow of Mae West's career in the limelight began to dim, she ventured into an enigmatic twilight, a period marked by a curious blend of public adoration and private mystique. Even as the fervor of Hollywood's golden age waned, Mae remained a figure of fascination, her later years shrouded in the same blend of scandal and allure that had marked her ascent. In the 1950s and 1960s, Mae West's presence in film and theater became less frequent, yet her influence lingered in the air like a perfume. She turned to the nightclub circuit, where her performances were celebrated not just for their entertainment value, but for the nostalgia they evoked for a bygone era. Mae's shows were lavish affairs, a testament to her undiminished star power and her unwavering commitment to her persona. Mae's twilight years were also marked by a foray into the spiritual and the esoteric. She developed an interest in spiritualism, a reflection perhaps of her lifelong defiance of conventional norms. Mae's exploration of these realms added a layer of depth to her public image, casting her as a seeker of truths beyond the material world. This period of her life was characterized by a quieter, more introspective form of rebellion, a search for meaning in the twilight of her career. Despite her retreat from the public eye, Mae West remained a subject of public intrigue. Rumors swirled about her personal life, her health, and her wealth, each tidbit of gossip adding to the mythology that had always surrounded her. Mae lived her later years in a Los Angeles apartment, a space as grand and eclectic as the woman herself. It was here that she entertained guests, held court with the press, and continued to write, her pen as sharp as ever. Mae West's final public appearance in the film Sextet, 1978, was a fitting coda to her career. At the age of 85, she played a glamorous film star, delivering lines with the same wit and verve that had catapulted her to fame decades earlier. The film was not a critical success, but it served as a reminder of Mae's enduring charisma and her unparalleled ability to captivate an audience. Mae West passed away in 1980, but the enigma of her twilight years only added to her legend. She left behind a legacy that was as complex as it was captivating, a blend of scandal, success, and spiritual search that continues to fascinate. Mae West's twilight was not a fading away, but a deepening, a final act that ensured her immortality in the pantheon of Hollywood legends. The immortal Mae West. In the years following Mae West's passing, her status as an icon of early Hollywood only grew, transcending the scandals and controversies that had once defined her public persona. The immortal Mae West became a symbol of empowerment, her legacy enduring through a blend of nostalgia, admiration, and the timeless relevance of her message. Mae's influence permeated popular culture, from fashion to music, film to feminist discourse. Her signature style, bold, glamorous, and unmistakably Mae, inspired generations of women to embrace their individuality and sexuality with confidence. Designers and stylists drew upon her image, recreating her looks on runways and red carpets, a testament to her lasting impact on fashion. In the realm of entertainment, Mae West's pioneering spirit lived on. Filmmakers and playwrights revisited her work, finding in her films and scripts a rich source of inspiration. Documentaries and biopics explored her life, each attempting to capture the essence of a woman who was as complex as she was charismatic. Her quotes, brimming with wit and wisdom, became part of the lexicon, often cited in discussions about gender, sexuality, and empowerment. The feminist movement, too, found a forebear in Mae West. Scholars and activists looked to her as an early champion of women's rights, celebrating her defiance of societal norms and her advocacy for sexual liberation. Mae's life and work were studied, debated, and celebrated in academic circles, her contributions to the fight for gender equality recognized and revered. Yet for all the public fascination with Mae West, she remained an enigma, a figure shrouded in mystery. Stories of her private life, her relationships, her beliefs, her final days were the subject of speculation and intrigue. Mae had carefully curated her public image, and even in death, she kept the world guessing. Mae West's legacy was not just in the roles she played or the lines she delivered, it was in the lives she touched and the barriers she broke. She had become more than a star. She was a cultural icon, a beacon of boldness, and a symbol of the enduring power of individuality. The immortal Mae West lived on, her legacy a testament to the extraordinary life she had led and the indelible mark she had left on the world.